Good morning, everyone. We are here at Hudson Valley Mornings with John Rose and Bob O with Al Esposito, who is Adams Garden Center manager at the Wappinger store. Good morning, Al. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
I'm well, Rose. Good morning.
It's nice to
A
see you.
pleasure. Always. Oh, yeah, finally, right? There we go.
Oh, wait, I've got a thing happening in my headphones. Um, all right, I'll just ignore that. But anyway, so let's chat a little bit about fall, winter outdoor prep.
Sure.
So, hang on a sec. Uh, I got the delay in my headphones there, producer man. Uh, so it's hard for me to hear you.
I'm sorry about that.
I don't know what to do with this. So anyway, I guess if you want to chat a little bit while I try to figure out what's happening with my headphones. So this
Very
is the
well.
time of year, right, when you got to get prepared for the spring,
Most
right?
certainly. So I had the day off yesterday, so I was home, and that's exactly what I started to do. So I actually basically did a pretty vigorous weeding in my beds to remove any perennial grasses, any weeds. I had a little bit of sumac popping up that I needed to get it out because I was pretty negligent with that. It runs underground, so I made sure I got all those roots. Uh, I like to leave some things standing, so I clean my beds not entirely because there are beneficial insects that will overwinter in the stems and underground in some of the areas. So I try not to do a complete cleanup. Again, some of the perennials need some of that uh, cover of their own leaves to protect the crown of the plant. So I don't remove everything. Uh, and I go for a manicured look. I'll edge my beds at this time of the year, also re-edge them because they've gotten a little sloppy. And I'll put mulch down in most areas. Some areas where I want seeds to come up, I won't mulch. And I'll just put a little marker in so I know that I'm expecting something to emerge there in the spring so I can look for it. So vegetable beds would be different. Vegetable beds, you have to look at whether you are using uh, whether your plants were healthy all season. So tomatoes, for instance, can carry over disease on the leaves of the plant year to year. So if you had a struggle with your tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, you want to remove all that debris, all of those leaves from your garden, from your compost piles. Just put it in a trash bag and send it to off your property because you don't want the reoccurrence of that disease by reapplying it if it's in your compost or even just left on your soil. So with the vegetable beds, I'll do a more thorough cleanup. I will. So I would suggest a soil test so that if you need to change your pH, you would apply lime at this point in time. So it'll be already in the spring. I try to minimize what I can do now so I don't have it in the spring. The spring is so much more active, so much more busy with the things that we have to do in the garden, plus any recreational time away from the garden. Uh,
Yeah.
so it all competes for time. So if I can do some things now that are going to save me springtime, that's what I like to do. So
Yeah.
clean up the vegetable garden really well. Uh, Check for your pH levels. I don't really add any fertilizer in a vegetable bed or flower bed for that matter. Flower beds, again, I would clean them to a degree that they're not going to impede on any walkways. So when the snow comes, you don't want those branches getting snow laden, snowbound, and then falling into the walkway and becoming more of a problem in with your cleanup for snow removal. Expecting that we do get some snow. Did you have a question?
Yeah, that's great as far as, like, how to get everything cleaned up. What about the pests? You had, mentioned, just pests in general. Um,
So again, by well, pests, and what I was referring to when I said pests there in our little
Yeah,
pre-show notes were pretty much mice, voles, moles. Uh, they're all different things that they'll girdle your trees. Rabbits will do this too, uh, and they're active during the winter. On a good day, they're going to come out, or the ones that are underground will. Uh, the ones that are underground will burrow deeper, but they're still active as the
yeah,
winter gets colder. And they're down there and they're eating roots of plants. That's how they're surviving.
yeah,
So if they're eating your roots, then the bigger problem with that is you're not going to know it until the spring when that plant
right.
struggles to emerge. Maybe it's going to live, maybe it's going to be half alive. So as far as how to deter them, mice, moles, voles, traps can be set so
Yeah.
you can trap them. There's repellents. Uh, there are actually some more packets, sachets that have mint in them, and mice don't like mint. So if you
Oh,
were to put
oh,
those
that's
in
good.
your sheds where you might have seeds really, they go after seed just
Mhm.
like bird seed too. So that's always better stored in a container they can't get to. I would say those sachets work really well, but I still put down some traps,
That's
uh,
great.
mice, but also in the vegetable garden. The traps would have to be kind of in the runs for a mole. Voles go deeper, but set underneath a pot so the trap is live. Peanut butter, in most instances, works well for all of them as
Great.
they be. Repellents too. We do sell some repellents that can be sprayed on uh, the actual plant. Some can be scattered around the edges of the garden. And again, the person gardening has to decide to what level they want to use, whether they want to use a conventional method, which would be a chemical, or they want to use something organic. And that's
Yeah.
why I mentioned mint as a repellent. It does
Okay,
work.
great. So what about the, lawn prep? Okay, we don't do a lot here because we're very, very rural where I live, but I
Mhm.
know, people have these beautiful green lawns. Is there anything that they should be doing to prep the lawn for the winter?
Well, I mean, at this point in time, people can still apply a fertilizer, a winterizer type fertilizer that's going to increase the root growth. So vigorous root growth. It'll also help the lawn will stay greener longer. Certain varieties of grass go dormant, so they're not
Mm,
going to stay green. You probably don't want to fertilize those varieties of grass if you have a lawn that goes to goes dormant for the winter time. I would fertilize in the spring. It's hard to do weed control at this time of the year. The weeds aren't actively growing as the temperature goes down. It's weed control isn't active. I've suggested to people to just use a selective spray on really vigorous weeds that are in their lawn, just patches. And that can be done for a little while. I think by next week, the temperature is going to be too cool for any weed control. Again, I mentioned a soil test. Soil test
right.
for your lawn is really good at this point in time. Get a jump on it. Check your pH. See if you need to raise that pH. That in our area normally has to be raised.
I'm in awe of all of you gardening people who know how to do this kind of stuff. It's a lot. So, I know on your website, the adamsfarms.com website, there's a tab for gardening.
Oh yeah,
So right?
there's
There's some
lots of
really great
different
information there,
tutorials,
everybody.
a lot of information on there, and of course, any one of our stores, there's in each garden center lots of knowledgeable people,
Yeah.
uh, and we're always happy to talk gardening for sure.
And you could be like me and just go buy all the mums and put them in the pots on your patio and call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, a garden can be as large or as small as you want it to be. It shouldn't be something that stresses people out.
Right.
It should be an enjoyable activity. Yes, at times of the year it does get to be more things to do, but I have become more accepting of the way it is at times and
Yeah.
just appreciate the things that look good and try to get to where I want to be as time goes on rather than
Well,
stress about it.
thank you so much, Al, for joining us this morning. I'm sorry about the weird, we're our first video chat
Sure.
here, but we got through it, and I appreciate you coming on. And if anybody would like more information about gardening, adamsfarms.com, just click on that gardening button. And I think you can even contact Al or some of the gardening people through the website.
Definitely. There's an open comment area
Yeah,
where you can put a question in, it gets routed to the proper person, whether it's a nursery manager or nursery staff person or a garden center staff person, an indoor greenhouse person. So we've got experts in all areas of gardening,
great.
and we'd love to help anyone that
Okay,
has some
wonderful.
questions. All right, Rose. Well, good to
Yeah,
see you and
thank you for
speak with
coming on.
you.
We'll have you back. When should we have you back to talk to us about planting? What month should we start planting, like seeds
Well,
indoors?
seeds, I would say we can start talking mid to late February.
Okay.
I mean, people can get seeds, look at those catalogs, come in the store, and then mid February we'll
Okay, so
chat
we'll
again.
have you back on right before that, early February. Thanks so
Very
much,
good.
Al. Take care. Have a great day.